Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them. Brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. Today, I am chatting with narrator Kit Swann. Kit, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm doing great.
I'm excited to talk to you. It's been a long time, but at the same, with online is just different than when we're like in person, technically, like this.
Yeah, no kidding.
Why don't we start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrating, and how you got started?
Sure. I've been an actor since I was a kid. And I got a tape recorder for my 6th birthday. And I was like, I would go around and just put everything in that microphone, and I would read stories into it. I would do, little murder mysteries with my friends from school. And I have always loved the sound of my own voice. No, I've always loved bringing people's stories to life. So I got started with acting really, really young. And then when I was in my 20s, I started doing voice acting and commercials and stuff like that. And when I would always listen to audiobooks back when they were like on books on tape, right? And CDs and stuff. Because I'm also, I have inattentive type ADHD. So if I go off, on a tangent, just let me know. But I love reading out loud. And I love listening to stories, because if I'm reading in my head, my mind goes wandering. But if I am reading out loud, or I'm listening to somebody tell a movie in my mind, basically, I am all ears. So I always thought that books, like audiobooks, were done by famous people. That was it. I would go into like Barnes and Noble and look at the back and be like, oh, I wish I could be, this person or that person. And then, Andy Arndt was my college roommate. And yeah, I know. And so I had gone to New York. I was working as an actor in New York and all over the country. And Andy started doing her voice work like about 10 years before I started. And she would call me and be like, am I setting up my microphone right? All this stuff. and which is so funny to me now. And then when I moved back to where I am now, she said, you know what, you should really be doing this. And I was like, but it's just famous people, and you're famous now. And she's like, you've got the acting chops, you've got the voice work chops. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And I did like one chapter for a Rachel Van Dyken book, and I was hooked.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have loved everything I've done since then.
That's definitely a journey, and I think everybody has such a vast different way on how they got here, of sorts.
Yeah.
And we've had individuals that were not readers, some that were always readers, also audiobook listeners and things like that. Acting background, non-acting backgrounds. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So you said that you were a reader and a listener of books. What do you listen to when you're not working?
Oh, wow. I love fantasy, and I love thrillers and sci-fi. Gore is not really my thing, but it used to be. And now, not so much anymore, but I'm more along the lines of, I love a good story that you can really lose yourself in. And I love like the fantasy and sci-fi genres. You're paying attention because it's all new. It's not what you're used to seeing in the world. And I also listen to my favorite romance narrators, because I love the ones, I love hearing them tell a good story. So that's what and it's always in my car.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I get anywhere, I can't listen to the news. So I always put on my book, and I'm like, right now I'm listening to These Violent Delights. It's Chloe Gong and Cindy Kay is narrating. It's Romeo and Juliet retold in Shanghai in the 1920s.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool, and it's got magical elements in it. And Juliet's this badass killer. It's awesome.
Thank you. As it should be.
Yes, exactly. I love it. And I have a Shakespeare background too. So I love figuring out who the characters are meant to be. Like the Friar Lawrence character is a Dutch scientist named Laurence, and he is figuring out the mystery of how people are getting killed around Shanghai. So cool.
Yeah. I love Shakespeare, and I'm still sometimes daunted that at my senior year in high school, we were reading the Canterbury Tales.
Oh yeah, that's how you got into romance, right?
No, funny enough, it was in middle school.
Oh wow!
It was in middle school. We had a meet the author kind of event, and an author came over, and this is where my love of paranormal romance started.
Yeah,
and she wrote. It was like a young adult book, and it was about a vampire and
cool.
something chocolate. I actually years later, I want to say maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I looked it up. I found it online and I bought it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh man. I got into Anne Rice. So like
yeah.
you know, her like dirty books. That was how I got into that kind of romance too. And the magical element of it.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
No. It's always fun. I'm like, why can't I live in these books?
That's right.
I mean, like even Mary Poppins snapped her fingers and stuff in the house got done. Jesus.
Don't I wish?
Okay.
Don't I wish that Mary Poppins lived in my house?
I know, right? Or if I knew someone like that, I'd be like, hey, I can cook and make you lunch. I'll stop paying you, but help.
Man, I got to tell you, like the more that I go along, the more I am like, I'm not good at that. I'm going to hire somebody who is good at that to do it for me. And I love figuring that out.
It's funny too, because you know how I always say is we give great advice, we just never take it for ourselves. I've always been an advocate for that, saying, hey, first of all, there's not ever enough time in the day for you to do everything.
So true.
And where do you want to focus? And if that's the case, then look at hiring some other stuff out. You don't have to give the complete control. And I always have to add that, because I think a lot of us in the arts world are about controlling the outcome, because it's part of your reputation, right? I mean, if you do the editing and you do the the prep work for the book, for an example, if you have a pickup afterwards, or you fucked up and didn't do the French, the French accent, that's on you.
Right. Exactly.
But if your prepper missed it, you're like, damn it, this is why I shouldn't hire. And then that's another conversation. But yeah, oh man. Yeah, it's definitely something that, if you can, I know there's an additional cost to it and stuff like that, but I'm learning to listen to myself when it comes to that. Hence why I now have an editor for the podcast, because it's an additional expense. Yeah, exactly. And she does a great job. And sometimes I will be hyper vigilant about something. I'm like, get rid of this if it's, and she's like, I thought about that and I looked at it, but I think it sounds fine the way that it is, like more smooth. I'm like, okay, fine.
That's right. Yeah. They have a better eye on it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a different ear. It's just like when you're so involved in the project, you don't see some of those mistakes.
Heck no. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true.
Yeah. So, but it's funny too that you were thinking that it was something like the audiobooks were something that just famous people would be doing, right?
Yeah, that's all I was like. And when I first started doing them, I'm like, I'm totally gonna mess it up, and the author's gonna be mad at me. And no, they don't. They're like, no, you're bringing my story to life, and it's wonderful. And that it's given me a huge sigh of relief, because this is really the friendliest side of the entire theatrical world. I think.
Heard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no scarcity mindset. Which is amazing to me, having grown up in the theater, where if you are a certain type of person, like if you're an ingenue, or you play the moms, or you play the grandmothers, there's one role in each show, and there is a finite number of shows. And if you don't get this role, maybe you don't work for a while. But in audiobooks, there's so much work to be had that all you do is just be happy for the people who got these other books that maybe you wanted, but here's another book that you're going to do. And you can, just celebrate everybody in the community. And that's what I love about audiobooks.
Yeah, I mean, huge props to, again, one of the reasons why I also love the romance community is because we're all about loving on everybody and sharing and recommendations and saying, hey, I can't do this, but someone else might be able to.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you folks either. There's always a few bad apples here and there in every life and everything,
sure.
Stuff like that. But the majority of the people are really, really good. So
it is so rare. I mean, it is so rare in our industry to find somebody that is not loving and giving and just a general good person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Been fortunate. Good. That's good too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had the same thing thinking about the audiobooks. I didn't even know that there was such a thing as a gig, like a job that you can do with anything to do with books.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, if I knew this when I was younger and early on. Probably would have gone into photography first, though, to do the book covers.
Oh, yeah. And you can hang out with the models and stuff.
Yeah.
My prepper actually is a stay-at-home mom who's from England, and she has 2 kids, and she reads so fast. Like her bedside table book pile is just like, she goes through it. And she was the first person that I approached about prepping because I was like, hey, my schedule is packed. I don't have time to read and narrate and have a life and see my family. And so she took it on. And I got to say, it's the best decision I ever made because she's like, I never knew that I could make a living out of reading books. And I was like, I never knew that you could make my life so much easier. So it's just an amazing world here.
So many aspects of things that we did not know as far as making a living possibilities within the book world that I'm like, that's such an injustice.
Yeah. And so you're telling everybody about come on over to this side. I love it.
Oh, heck yeah. I was at when my kid was in high school, they did a bunch of events and things like that. And I would always have conversations. And of course, people tell me what they had the bodies, and the kids were like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. I'm not really the teacher type or the doctor type. I'm like, and then that conversation would start like, what do you do like to do? Yeah. And then whether it was culinary because they like to cook, or even some of them love to just read. And I would tell them, I go, these are all the possibilities in the book world that you could do. Anything from the engineering side of things for audiobooks to the book covers to the editing, from all this fun stuff. Yeah. And they would look at me like they've been lying and like in awe, like they had a future now of sorts, right? They had other possibilities. And I think the listeners too, when we listen to you guys, you're telling us a story and we're hearing a bunch of other possibilities, whether it's the baking. I love that baking because she was a baker and she did it herself. I'm like, well, I can do that too.
Right. Exactly. I love that.
You had said that when you listen to books, you kind of see a movie. Has it always been like that with the reading too, or is it mostly with listening?
Yeah, no, I mean, for reading too, like I get sucked into the world of the book. When I'm narrating, I see what's happening. Like I just finished By Virtue I Fall by Cora Riley. And that's me and Sebio, by the way. It's my first Sebio book.
Oh.
And Connor Craze plays my dad, and Ava Lucas plays my mom.
Okay. Sorry.
I know, right? It's like
not the kind of daddy that normally people would have pictured him as, I'm sure.
I know, right? Exactly. But it's so fun. But like I literally am imagining the book while I'm acting out the characters. And good thing I'm in a quiet little box and no one can hear me.
Or that your thoughts are not being projected anywhere, right? Like,
yeah,
like back in the future movies, like they have those in the future where things get projected out and what you're thinking, oh God, thank goodness it doesn't exist.
Whoa. I have a very active imagination.
I think many of us here do.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Do you see that too? Do you see see the movie in your mind? Yeah, totally.
I do totally. But I've learned that that's not the norm.
That's so interesting to me because I'm like, when I find out people don't have like an internal monologue or anything, I'm like, wait a minute. I never stop talking to myself. So how is it so quiet in your brain? That's not my experience.
Yeah, I'm constantly going. My monologues be like, or more like along the lines like, Viviana, seriously, how many times are you going to continue to let this happen to you? Stop it. Right. Stop being so nice. Stop being so goody-goody. I'm like,
oh man. Yes.
Yeah, but that is a good cast. I know I've seen that book. I think the cast was announced a little bit ago, not too long ago, but not recently.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay, the lineup's is awesome. And I was like so excited for you too, because I'm like, we get more Kit.
Thank you. I have such a great time. I have a packed schedule. I am busy until the middle of October now. And it's been great too. And plus at Book Bonanza, people got to see me on stage too, which was really fun. I got to read Georgia, who of course is Tanya Eby, the fabulous Tanya Eby in Erin Mallon's book, These Walls Can Talk. But it was just such a blast. And people who hadn't heard a Kit book before were like, oh my gosh, I got to check you out now. And I was like, oh, that's really nice. Thank you. But it was so fun. And then we did a panel where it was 5 narrators. It was called 5 audiobook narrators on a panel because have you seen the TikTok with Natalie Naudus and Marnie Penning where they're in the car? Yeah. Okay. So we took romance scenes and read them with silly accents. And it was so fun. Like there's a video out there of Zachary Weber reading a scene from like Ali Martinez or somebody. And it's him as an Australian Bernie Sanders.
Oh my God.
And he's like, gesturing and stuff. And then there was another one where I had to read the bathtubs. No, that was Ali Martinez, I think. No, it's Kryn Michaels. Anyway, it's a bathtub scene. And I had to read it as the Count from Sesame Street.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, so how did he get my number? 1, 2, 3. And it was just so much fun, and everybody just laughed and laughed and laughed, and it was really fun too. Stephanie Nemeth Parker, and Chris Brinkley, and me, and Zachary Weber, and Rose Dioro, and we just had the best time, just laughing and laughing and laughing.
Yeah, talk about giving you guys free reign.
Yeah,
to be as creative and as silly, as it is, because it's different when you're doing the audiobooks. You're provided with something,
totally.
or you're in the prepping process, find out that they're Russian and they have this accent and they have a lisp, and then when they get really excited, they talk really, really, really fast, and things like that. But to be able to do the counts in a
right? Oh my gosh. Oh, and another one that Zach got to do was Priest by Sierra Simone.
Yes.
And he read him as Gandalf.
Oh my gosh. I need to get the video to that one, because I missed out on Book Bonanza this year.
Oh yeah,
because but I heard you guys were awesome and that everybody had such a blast. And I saw some of the videos here and there, and I'm going,
I know, FOMO. The FOMO is real. I know.
I was like, lottery needs to be won, or sugar daddy or something.
Oh my gosh, right? No kidding.
Because contrary to popular belief, there was never a billionaire during my internship. In the many offices that I worked at, none of them have been that hot or that financially independent.
I know, right? You read these stories and you're like, wait a minute.
I know.
Where's this for me?
Yeah. As a chef, none of them were that hot either in the kitchen, nor wealthily independent. So I'm going, good thing it's an escapism and not like Dear Diary.
I know, right? No kidding.
They
No
lied.
kidding. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I what are your favorite ones where it's like realistic, guy you meet at the library and turns out to be, he lives down the street and he's an accountant and
Sometimes, I think that as much as we do love the billionaires and we do love the movie stars or the rock stars that have become incognito, or the rock star
Right.
that someone's doing an internship of sorts, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's also those moments where we just want to have a regular Joe that's dependable.
Yeah.
And
No
might have
kidding.
some, background history of not trusting and stuff like that, because that's human. That's all of us in some way, capacity or another.
Yeah.
And they could be hot, but also what I think is hot is totally different from what you think is hot. What is totally different from what
Yes.
somebody else thinks is hot.
Yes.
So, descriptive, we have an imagination, we can go there. It's okay.
Yeah. I've done a bunch of novellas for the Read Me Romance podcast.
Uh-huh.
And there have been some really nice ones where it was just guy next door and girl next door. And turns out that,
Mhm.
and those are just really it's like possible, it's
Yeah.
like I want to show that to some of the boys that I was growing up with, me like, this is how you treat a woman.
Yes.
Like not what you did.
Yeah. I'm like, it's almost, and sometimes you kind of also want to go back and with those books that are like that, and just have that like Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman moment where she goes back
Right.
afterwards to that boutique that they would not serve her.
Right.
Big mistake.
I love it. Huge. I love it. That's
Yeah.
going to be a musical.
I heard.
That is wild, right?
Yeah, I love it that the theater is coming back, and that we're getting some of our favorites in a different version / style of performance.
Yeah, me too.
So it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, I will go back to New York one of these days, and I will do a Broadway show and watch it and
I'm going on
Okay.
Monday. I'm going on
Nice.
Monday to New York for just for the day. And then I'll be
Oh,
back. I have
yeah.
an in-studio job up there. So
That's good. See, that's the difference when people live a little bit more up north. The states are significantly smaller, and that means the borders
Right.
are also shorter. I mean, I could
Yes.
drive 6 hours north, and I'm still in the state of Florida. Okay,
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
And I'm in the middle of the state for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. I used to live in Tallahassee
Oh wow.
for like a year, and then we went
Yeah.
back. It was 8th grade though.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, even then, the panhandle is long.
it is. That's right. That's right. You go east or west and you are still in Florida.
Yeah. It's like there's no going anywhere outside of Florida for the day unless you live right at the border.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
So-
panhandle is really like southern Georgia though.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
No, that
you
top
know.
half, I want to say maybe about an hour, or maybe an hour and a half or two from Orlando up.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's just southern. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Totally different.
That's where I learned to say, hey, y'all.
Yeah. Did you pick up the accents really quickly? And do you still pick up accents really quickly, like when you're visiting New York?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a mimic. So like when I'm talking to someone, I have to like take my thoughts in and stop myself from becoming like morphing my accent into theirs. But the times where it does come in handy is like if I'm going to a different country, they mistake, like, my French accent is really good, so they think that I'm more fluent than I am, and so I have to say, no, in French, speak slowly and with lots of hand signs. Like, parlez lentement, s'il vous plaît, avec beaucoup de signes de main. Like that's. But yeah, no, I always, like, when I'm talking to someone, it's a mirroring thing that I don't know if it's a self-preservation thing or not wanting to seem like an outsider, but not to the extent where they feel like I'm making fun of them, clearly. But like, yeah, if you didn't say, hey, y'all, people are like, hi, what's that?
Right.
So I still, to this day, I'm like, hey, y'all.
Yeah. It's for some, I know the accents can be, some of them come easy to you guys,
right?
And others are like, it's okay. I'm gonna get a coach. I'm gonna work on it because I need a couple more specifics,
Yeah.
because of tone, or the cadence, or even some of the rolling of the R's in some of the,
Yeah.
the Romance languages specifically.
Yeah, for sure.
And others are like, oh hell no, go get Kit to do it, because not this girl. No, Kit can do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of my things is like being a voice chameleon is I love learning accents, and I love putting the voices into those lives. So yeah, that's my favorite thing.
So having that be some of your favorite things, and doing a bunch of different types of accents in general, from the acting in the theater to, audiobooks, what is your favorite accent to perform?
The one that I slip into most easily is the British British accent. No, it's like let's see, what's really fun. I dated a guy for 7 years whose mom was Scottish.
Oh.
And that was really fun because she was from Glasgow. And so she was unintelligible most of the time. But if I were to go back in that, I would have to, have lines in front of me because I'm bad about coming up with stuff on the spot. Improv is not my thing. I can read lines, no problem. But like trying to come up with stuff on the spot, my brain freezes. So it's more like, if I were to say Melissa Foster, I like to go on TikTok and imitate the Scottish people that are on TikTok. There's this one girl, and for the life of me, I'm blanking on her name, but she does poetry and she's Scottish, and just, oh my gosh, just listening to her and then repeating back what she says is just like the best workout ever. But British accents are the way that I go. I started doing a British accent when I was 6 years old, and I would annoy my parents to no end talking in a British accent. And when I get nervous, I don't have any breath to support it. But if I were to say something like, let's see, I've got something in front of me here. Helen Laser's unpretentious girl next door voice captures the edgy personality of P.I. Clary's Pinky Granum's in Thoreau's 12th book in this Kindle County series. So that's like, like reading it off the page is a lot easier for me than trying to come up with stuff in my head.
Maintaining it. Yeah. Wow. That's really
that's
good.
my favorite thing. Thank you.
Yeah. But I can also see where your parents would be like, stop it.
I know,
You're
right?
not. We're not.
Mother, may I have a peanut butter sandwich, please, Mother? Like cut it out, or they'd laugh,
Yeah.
So I have 3 sisters too, and we would just, cut up together. And we had a gigantic box of clothes it was our pretend box. It was like clothes and wigs and shoes and purses, and we would just like dress up and become a character and walk around the house and make up little back then it's like, I'm going to the store, I would like to pick up some bananas, and and we have all these pictures of us like in these crazy outfits in the pretend box. And now we have a my nieces and nephews have pretend boxes, and it's wonderful.
That's fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's something that's missing from the kids nowadays, is that is being able to play with just a box, period. I mean,
right?
that was like a box that I fit in. Dude, that was a car. That was a boat. That was a
rocket ship.
Yes. I mean, anything.
Yeah,
exactly. Or if it was something that was, more vertical, that was like a hiding place in a closet of sorts, and kind of pretend like you were going into Narnia.
Yes. I love it.
And now the kids are like, why did you give me a box?
I know, it doesn't do anything.
I know.
Trying to like, swipe it,
Why do you mean like my imagination? My kid busted out with that one time. I don't have an imagination. I'm like, we're going to disconnect you. Yeah, no kid of mine, but no, it's it's really good. But that British, it's funny. I think a lot of people tend to fall into that.
Yeah.
Just for like fun, and even as kids, because we see it all the time now with TVs and stuff like that. I mean, we didn't have, Downton Abbey back then, but there were other shows
exactly
that we would do and stuff like that. So, or when
Yeah.
PBS would have a special.
Yes, I do like to do
Masterpiece theater.
Southern though. I love to do Southern too, because it's very much of the same vowels and things that you drop that the British accent is, and you can go all over the South. Like you can be like, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, or you can say I'm from Georgia, or you're up into North Carolina. There's like, and then in Virginia, it's very much hard R's. So it's like Virginia. And when I go down to Virginia, I'm talking about like that, and you can move it all over your mouth. That's when you say you have a Southern accent, there is not just one Southern accent. I mean, you live in Florida. It's all over the place. And Texas, you think of like George Bush. I'm a decider, like, that's where like George Bush is where I go to get to Texas. And
oh goodness, the first time I met my in-laws, because again, knowing the history and stuff like that, they were all born and raised in Connecticut. They moved over to to Florida, and then because of job, dad had to go somewhere else. I think it was Arkansas, and then ended up in Texas. So the kids, so all my sister-in-law and brother-in-laws, all basically did a lot of the growing up in Texas. But again, they go to Connecticut a lot. They all have a Southern drawl of sorts, or a little bit of a hint, and I'm going, oh dear Lord.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, and then I realized that I also pick it up after a couple of days with them.
There you go.
Yeah, but realizing the differences between a Texan accent and a Atlanta, Georgia accent, and a Savannah accent.
Yeah. Savannah,
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville.
Louisville.
I actually did a play in Louisville. So yeah, like so swallow everything.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. All those places you travel when there's conferences in the world prior to COVID.
Right. No kidding. No kidding.
But those were always fun. And again, I'm similar to you. I that mimic, and I never really thought of it that way as far as mimicking. I always thought I'm just weird.
No, not at all. And it's like, the mimic thing. It's just. I think it is. It's like a self-preservation thing, because you don't want to seem like an outsider when you go, and you want people to accept you. So you mirror what they do, and they, like they're like, I like that person. They're just like me, So that's where it comes from. I think
she says that.
Right. Exactly. Unless they, unless they, like I can't. I don't have a good Australian or New Zealand accent. And so, like if a book like that comes to me, I'm like, you don't want me for this, but you do want like Emma Wilder, who has a fantastic Australian accent. I mean, and that's one of the things where I had to do an Australian accent for like one character in a book. And I had my friend who is Australian record the lines for me. And it was like maybe 20 lines total. And and phonetically, I spelled it out so that I could get the character right. But if I were asked to do a full book on Australian, I'd be like, that is not me. I am not the person you want. Now, Polish I can do. And Greek is my phrase for Greek is natural mineral water. Natural mineral water. Natural mineral water. And then, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't be perfect. There's no such thing. If you have every accent, you be perfect, and that's so not like no. That's called pressure. Okay, that's unrealistic pressure.
Right, exactly. I have a lot of accents in me. Australian and New Zealand is not one of them.
And that's okay.
Not two of them, I guess.
Yeah, people, which is fine.
Exactly. I'll send you that way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's good too, because at least you're sending them that way versus trying and then watching it.
Yeah, no, you don't want to face. You don't want to face the reviews on that one.
Oh my God, no.
Anybody British you can put me with, but Australian, send somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even and mentioning the reviews and stuff. I mean, I would be scared just simply because I know there have been 2 instances in which the reviews were like, oh my God, his Irish accent was so not realistic.
Oh, really?
And the narrator's Irish. And
oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, oh no, I know that for a fact.
Oh my
He's
God.
Irish. And the other one that I can off the top of my head was his British. I just was just so unbelievable. And it was just like just so not how it's supposed to be done. No, he was born and raised and yeah, he was there.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, yeah, if those two are getting reamed for their accent when they have it, I'm like, oh no.
And just don't pay attention to the reviews. Don't read the reviews. That's a good rule of thumb. I have my sister read my reviews, and she only gives me the good ones. Because who needs that kind of pressure? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I always find that the reviews that as long as they're helpful,
right,
and they're provided in a way where it's not hurtful or demeaning to anybody,
that's a thing.
That positive feedback is welcomed, I think.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Constructive reviews. Yeah, I let those pass through. Like I let her give those to me, but things that are just mean, I don't want to see it.
No, I don't blame you.
I know.
Don't. It's a good thing. Sisters are good for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully she doesn't mess with you afterwards, though.
Not at all. Oh my gosh. It's amazing because when we were younger, we would definitely mess with each other. But now, now that we're all older, we have each other's backs,
Okay. That's good.
So yeah. She's the one that helps me out. I have 3. The one that helps me out is 9 years younger than me. And she also helps me with my social media, and she's like my personal assistant. So she goes through all my reviews and finds stuff that we can post on social media and put on the website and things like that.
That's great.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah. If you can go back in time and tell your teenage selves all this stuff, right?
Right. I know.
They'll be like, no, it's not.
I know. Yeah. The one that was closest to me, the one that's 2 years younger than I am, we were the ones that fought the most.
Yeah.
But now, seriously, we have each other's backs. So.
Yeah, as it should be. And when you have a good relationship, it's always great. I know that me and my twin were, identical twin on top of that.
You had a twin. Oh my gosh.
Identical twins. And, we've had no choice but to learn to share since, conception.
Exactly. You shared a room from the beginning.
From the very beginning. And even then we learned very quickly that my sister was not so good with sharing when her umbilical cord gets around my neck upon delivery.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
To this day, she's like, listen, I had options, okay? I was like, oh, I love you, but you bitch.
That's so funny. What a great story. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
But it potential to be not so good a story, but yes.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. We always have that whole thing with because you guys, as siblings too, it's like, oh, I'm the older one, and as a one-upping of sorts, right? Or the reason why you can do it. She tried that shit with me one time.
Oh my God.
I'm like, by a minute. And by the way, I am an inch taller than you if you're going to start, one-upping each other.
Right. No kidding. Oh my gosh. My younger sisters are taller than I am too. So
see. Yeah.
I got, I got the first of everything, but they got all the height.
Yeah. There's always something, when it comes down to that. There's a reason why they call it middle child syndrome, and it's spoiling babies and all that fun stuff. So
right. Yeah.
But again, the bantering and the relationship that you guys have as siblings, it's something too that in the books that we're reading, we have sibling relationships in some of these, as far as those or best friends and stuff like that. But even then within the couples, whether it's the sexy or the bantering, stuff like that, is there a particular scene that you love to narrate?
Wow. The banter is really, really fun when you're ribbing each other, and it by Virtue I Fall with Cora Riley, they have some really good banter in there because she just loves to needle him, and that's how she gets him. So those scenes are super, super fun. What else is fun? I love the narration of stuff around the love story, like describing the scene and describing what's going on in their head and that kind of stuff where people are holding things back and they want to say something, but they're not. And we as readers know what they're trying not to say. That is a lot of fun. And also like characters that age through the course of the book. Like if it's a long, like again, by Virtue I Fall, if it's a long amount of time from the beginning to the end, this particular character ages 10 years. So I love that kind of stuff where it's like you start off as a kid and then you get to be like a teenager who doesn't care. And then like you get to be a young adult who's still kind of naive. And then you get to be a woman. And that I really, really enjoy.
The transition
Yeah.
and to see the growth. Yeah. It's you have those moments where like, oh, I've been there. Oh, I said something similar. Oh yeah. Oh, that's where I'm gonna go. Yes.
Yeah, totally.
For the characters. Yeah.
Totally.
And a lot of authors are now starting to write older heroes and older heroines.
Yeah.
And by older, I mean 30, 35.
Right, exactly.
Because I'm sorry, not all of us are 25 and 20. I mean, dude, I want to relate a little bit more because trust me, when I was that age at 2022, I was not like that.
I love that too. Well, I also love the fact that this is audio. So like
we can.
You can. You can play those characters and it's as long as you portray it realistically in the audio, people can go there with you.
Yeah.
But you can be older, you can be younger, it doesn't matter. But yes, the older heroine, you know, where the more knowing and I know what I want and I'm not gonna fall for those tricks, you know, that's really satisfying to do too.
Yeah, I like it when the heroines are like, you do realize I am not a 20-year-old that's going to fall for your scheme.
Exactly. Oh, that works for you? Okay.
That works? No, sorry. And then she grabs her drink and walks away.
I know, totally. I do love that. I love the Benedict and Beatrice kind of, you know, Shakespearean kind of stuff. Or, you know, back in the day, moonlighting with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis or Cheers, you know, Sam the bartender and Diane and you know all of those like the characters that get under each other's skin because they just are so into each other and are like I'm not going to fall for you and they totally do.
Or realizing, you know what, I'm not gonna make it that easy for you just because I'm worth it more.
Right. I love that too.
Yeah.
I love that too.
I know a good example of that was the for me anyways that I love the characters were from the Bridgerton season 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the hero and the trope would be enemies to lovers of sorts, but it was just the one, you know, the bantering and you're not going to, you know, you can smile all you want, but that's not going to work on me, you know.
Right.
Stuff like that. Yeah, I have not. I mean, I have not read the books. I've bought them and stuff like that. And so I know that things are different in books and TV shows and all this fun stuff. But I also love it when people get interested in the books because of a TV show or a movie. And they're like, well, how are the differences and things like that? Yeah. And similar things have happened too with the audiobooks where people have watched a movie and then they've picked up the audiobooks because they don't have the time. And so instead of saying, I can't, they're like, oh, it's an audio. Yay.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's an option.
Yeah, no, I do love that too. I love that because you can hear the whole story. They have to cut out so much for the movies and you get to hear the whole story.
That's the worst when you've already read the book and there's that one scene between the hero and the heroine, especially when the bantering happens or something. And you're like, really?
I know.
That's the scene you cut.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, man. And then you're like, I know the producers did not read this book. They only have read the screenplay.
Yeah. I'm like, but that's again because we're book lovers. That happens all the time.
Absolutely. Pardon the squeak. I've got my tea here as well.
Oh, no, you're fine. I have coffee and water. Yeah. I'm still sipping on my coffee even though it's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon almost.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fine. But I mean, I always find it fascinating when they're like, oh, don't drink coffee, or I need to drink coffee to wake up. And I'm going, I drink it as a soothing mechanism.
Yeah.
It has, I mean, the caffeine has no effect on me. I am not that person that busts out with, oh, I'm dragging, I need a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
No, that's thanks to my parents.
There you go.
Well, dunking the pacifier on the Cuban espresso coffee and giving it to your toddler.
It's a rite of passage.
It's a rite of passage in the Latin community. I mean,
oh man, I used to love my coffee. I can't drink it anymore. It hurts my stomach.
Oh,
I know, it's very sad.
I know, but there's so many alternatives. Have you tried any?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
at least you tried.
Yeah, for sure. No, I've got matcha. I've got teas with caffeine. I love the V8 energy drinks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a orange pineapple one that I drink every day.
Pineapples?
Oh, it's so good.
Okay.
It's so good. And it's like 50 calories, and it's got a serving of fruits and vegetables in it. It's all, and it's not like the guarana or whatever. The caffeine's from tea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's delicious.
Okay.
It tastes like this. When I was traveling in England, when I was in college, soda called Tango, and it was this like orange pineapple drink soda, and I have been searching for it forever. And I was like, where's Tango? Where's Tango? And then this stuff tastes like Tango. I'm like, oh my God. So that's my caffeine. That and caffeine pills, because my aunt and uncle, who are they're nurses, they're retired now, but they would go to South America and go work in clinics in South America. And then when they had kids, they brought kids up that needed operations in the United States, and they would basically adopt them for the amount of time that they would need to be here for their surgeries and in recovery, and then send them back to their families. But now they have kids all over the world. And they it's amazing. But anyway, they're the ones that said, I'm like, I can't drink coffee anymore. Wah, wah, wah. And they said caffeine pills. Just take a caffeine pill, because it doesn't hurt my stomach. It works the same way. And that's what they would do when they were on long shifts in South America. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Like I said, pacifier, espresso, Cuban espresso coffee. For those that don't know, when you guys go to like Starbucks and you order an shot of espresso, it's like what, maybe 4 or 5 ounces, or something like that, or maybe 3, or depending on the shot and everything. Cuban coffee, for espresso concepts, it's literally like a tablespoon and a half of the liquid, because that potent.
It's that strong. I love it.
Yeah, but
that's cool.
Yeah, you've been traveling.
To smell it.
Oh yeah. When it's done right, it smells really good. I know.
Oh, I bet. My neighbor down the street is Cuban. Maybe I can see if she can make me some coffee so I can
smell it. That's not going to be weird at all.
Awesome.
Hey,
can I smell your coffee?
Yeah. I was just talking to Viv, and she got me jonesing for the Cuban coffee she was talking about and everything. You're Cuban.
Can you make me some coffee, please?
You're going to be like, thanks, Viv.
That's awesome. But I get a lot of pleasure from smelling food, I have to say. Yeah. There's I also have celiac, so I can't eat gluten. Wah, wah. And so I like Oreos. I know. It's like Oreos. I smell Oreos and I'm like, oh, it smells so good. And bread and pasta and pizza. And I just love the smell of it. Yeah. Because the ones that they make that I can eat don't taste the same. No. But the smell,
they're getting better.
They've gotten better. Yeah.
But they're not the same.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
That definitely something, that smell of freshly baked bread.
Yeah,
is
so
like
good.
Divine. And or when it's anytime I will walk by a baker or something like that,
Bakery.
I'm like, smell it and I go, yep, I guess gained 10 pounds. Just by smelling the fucker.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. Yeah, I totally understand. And even then, I'm like, people are like, oh, there's a candle. I'm like, it's not the same. Not the same smell of the candles. No, something different there.
It's not the
But
same.
go ask your neighbor and then let me know how that goes.
I will, for sure.
You were talking about traveling here and there and going to New York for a gig and stuff. You're actually going to be traveling again in September for Allure.
I am. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I am so excited. I mean, specifically audiobook romance convention. How perfect is this?
I know. It's fantastic.
I'm so excited.
It's the first of its kind. And I know that recently it seems like other events that are book signings for romance and have like, oh, there's an audience for this. That's a little different.
Yeah.
Which means we can get more people in here and let's invite some of the narrators. And so that's where you mentioned Book Bonanza occurred. That was a little later in the game for adding the narrators. It's just they're realizing that the audience and the desire is there. So Allure,
yeah.
I think Allure has been in the works for about 2.5 years because of COVID.
Yes. Yes.
It's finally happening in September.
Man. Thank God. I know.
Yeah. But you now having gone to a Book Bonanza where you were, a narrator there and you were attending it, not as a reader of sorts.
No, I haven't. The ones I've been to are a Polycon twice. I've been to Rare London, and there were only like 6 of us there. It was like me and Andy Arndt and Grace Grant and Zach Weber, Shane East, and Ava Lucas. Did I forget anybody?
I think you got everybody.
I think that was it. I think the 6 of us. That was such a blast. I mean, and we were right off the elevators. So like the whole huge area, I got to meet, speaking of Bridget and Julie Quinn, and we were right off the elevators, and so people would come out and they would be like, "Oh,
there you are! Hi,
there are narrators here." Like,
I remember your social media saying that.
Yes, and I got to meet Kelly from Readers Together, and people were bringing us like little goodie bags of stuff, and it was just like, it was so sweet. I have like some of my stuff on my I have a little shelf of all my stuff that I picked up from fans and from authors and stuff. And one of the things I got from there is a little like sparkly sign that says "You're awesome," and I was like, "Oh!" So I carry it with me. You were going to ask about other. Were you going to ask about other?
Right. So because
events?
It's been different, it's one of those where you guys have been, the narratives have been included as part of a bigger event, right? How are you, or are you thinking it, how is it going to be different now that this specific event is specifically for you guys, Oh,
I'm so excited.
I know.
I'm so excited. Because I've heard from so many people who are see, I can't even say it. I speak for a living. People who are neurodivergent, like I am, who cannot look at a book and take it in with their eyes, or people who have vision difficulties, or people who, for whatever reason, audiobooks speak to them more than the written page. I've heard from so many people that say, I wouldn't be able to read books if it weren't for you. So thank you for what you do. And that makes our day. It totally makes our day. Yeah. Like whenever we hear from listeners that, that we read, they hear us all the time. It's like, if you listen to a favorite radio station, you have a DJ that really speaks to you, and then you meet them and you think, I really know you because you hear them all the time. But yeah, it's such a special thing when people come up to you and say, I listened to this book and I listened to this book, and I really, I love what you do because you read to me all the time. It's very intimate. You know? We're the voices in your head. So
exactly. And it's one of those where I've spoken to a lot of fans that are going, and they're like, not only do I get to meet and hang out with the author, but the voice is going to be there. and they're going to be
Yeah.
and you guys have come out of the woodworks of sorts as far as social media comes,
Yeah.
and so now being able to have that interaction on social media has been great, because even with
Yeah.
many of you guys, I will bust out with a DM saying, oh my God, that section that you just did, dude, you killed it.
And we actually would love that so much, because it like just makes our day, because that was probably like what, 5 books ago for that narrator, and you're like, oh, something that I did really, because we put our heart and soul into this. It's not just reading, it's performing, it's living these lives for these characters. And the fact that moment touched you is a huge compliment to us. So thank you for doing that.
And being able to just connect with you guys and talk and like, oh my God, it's not a disembodied voice. You're real.
Hey, I know. We're real people.
Yeah.
Real people.
It's just also a nice reminder. Sometimes people, I think sometimes forgets that you guys are human beings and that there is more attached to that voice. And so things that are said and how you guys are treated is important. Just common decency.
Yeah.
But
thank you for that.
Yeah. Friendly reminder, folks. They're real human beings. This is not an AI
with feelings. Right? Oh my gosh. I've listened to some listened to some AI samples, and they're like, it sounds like a real human voice. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't sound like a real human. Like it sounds like there's no connection at all between the text and the character. Like nothing at all. It's like Andy actually has this phrase she calls it the melody of interesting. And it's like, it's somebody talking like this and it puts you to sleep, because you don't have they have no connection at all to what is happening in the story.
So, no. I mean, even the most advanced devices that have AI. I have the she who will not be named, because she will get activated if I say her name with an A. Okay. In my house, and I, switch it to the male voice.
Yes.
Because the male voice sounds significantly less robotic than her original voice.
Yeah.
But there's still something, and I was just playing with it just to kind of get a better sense of it. And there was one, because you can record it, if you give it a command, it will reply with whatever you want it to reply with, right? So I even had one where I said something like, when I say good night, that means turn off the corner lamp. And the reply from them is supposed to be something like, good night, gorgeous, which you would say, good night, gorgeous, right?
Right, yeah.
Right? Or like, good night, gorgeous, stuff like that. And they are like, good night, gorgeous. Yeah, no, that's not, no. Good try.
I like it. Sounds like an insult. Good night, gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm like, are you being sarcastic, asshole?
Right, no kidding. I have I'm recording. I say I'm recording, and it turns on a red light in my kitchen, so that if anybody else is in the house at the time, they know not to stomp around in the kitchen, because I'm recording.
I might need to do that in the house here. I am recording podcasts. Stop it. Yes.
Be like, a person, I'm recording. And then it goes, boom, and the light comes on. Yeah. And it's just a smart bulb. And you hook it up to them, and then you can tune it to whatever color you want. Like switch it to red, switch to blue. And so I have it on as a red light.
That type of technology has been around for a long time, because of those that are hearing impaired, or deaf. As far as like the doorbell does not work for individuals with that impairment.
No,
so they do the lights.
Hear it.
Yeah, they can't hear it, and so they have the blinking lights. And I remember seeing that about you having the red light, and thank you for reminding me. I'm also kind of wondering if it can work for "Don't talk to me, you've pissed me off."
That could be a special color. Yeah, that could be a special color. Like that, maybe that's your red light, and the other one is blue or something.
Yeah, and then can you imagine having the significant other ask the device in the house, what did I do now? And having him say something like, does it really matter?
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah. But I think
you better go apologize.
Yeah. But even then that would be like, what would it sound like? Like, you better go apologize,
Yes,
versus
you better go apologize.
Right? Versus if you and I were telling someone that, like, dude, you better go apologize.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And like a word, whisper, you better go apologize.
Make it quick. Jesus, yeah. So that's
you were asking me what I like recording too. Like that's whispering and like low words from a guy's voice. It's like really fun to do. And it's just like all that.
Stop it. Goosebumps. Stop it.
Like if someone's like, oh fuck. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. But it's been such a fun doing these podcasts and chats with you guys for the past 8 years has been phenomenal, because we get a little bit more of that insights of how you guys record, and that whole concept of moving closer to the mic. Never daunted or thought of me as far as, I mean, I know musicians do it, but it doesn't sound that, you hear it, but it's different. And so that's where having these chats is fantastic, because I'm like, it's great. I know these little tips and tricks. So even when I'm doing the podcast, I will bust out with what would, I've always joked, Shane East was a partner in the podcast, and he had his own series and for the first couple of years. And it's just one of those things where I asked him, I go, I always fuck it up in the intro. And he's like, Viviana, just slow down.
Yeah,
just
totally.
slow down. And now it's been years, and I'm still going at the very beginning. I'm like, welcome to the
yeah. So, yes,
these little tips and tricks. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah. But I am excited to see you at Allure. I know that we've met a few times before in different events, and I'm trying to think, were you in the Chicago? No, not Chicago. Excuse me, Atlanta for RT Book Lovers?
No, I wasn't. Okay. I wasn't there. I was trying to remember
because I know that Romance Narrators, the group.
I am part of that now, but I wasn't at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that they went.
I'm a proud romance narrator.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that team and that group for those that are listening and may not be aware, as far as what the whole overall concept of the Romance Narrators are?
Romance Narrators is a cooperative collective of experienced narrators with a proven track record in the romance genre. It's a boutique casting experience with a curated, diverse roster of narrators who can fully produce exceptional audiobooks beginning to end and provide online marketing support for new releases. And so the narrators involved, there are female voices, there are male voices. It's just a group of like people saying, all of these narrators are proven, they have a proven track record in the romance industry. I remember like applying at the beginning when I had first started, and they're like, hang on there, baby kid. Yeah, you just need to get a few more under your belt. But like, I mean, it's like Lucy Rivers and Lacey Laurel and Lynn Barrington, Mackenzie Cartwright, Maxine Mitchell, all these people, Andy Arndt, Savannah Peachwood. You have you're nominated by someone who was already part of Romance Narrators. And then that way, every single person, like there are a lot of narrators who can do romance, but these are people who do a significant portion of their catalog is romance. And they really, really enjoy doing it. And then on the guys section, it's like Joe Arden and Shane East and Aaron Shedlock, Aiden Snow, those kinds of people. So yeah, just really, really good people.
Benjamin Charles, I think, is one of the newer ones.
He's new. Yeah.
Yeah. He just joined the lineup, which I was excited about. But that lineup is truly individuals that have been working in the industry for a couple of years and
longer.
More than that. Yeah. For many. And like you said, have a proven track record of knowing the genre and knowing how, these characters should be sounding and things like that. But what I also love about the website is that it provides samples and even some contact information. So if you're an author who is starting the journey of getting your books in audio, check that website out. There's a lot of insight in there. I know they have blogs from a couple of years ago that includes some of the process, but even just to get the samples of, with this, what the character should sound like in your head. Is this how it was sounding?
Right.
You know, like, does it sound like Kit?
Exactly.
If it does, give her a holler.
Right.
You know?
Or if, also if you have listeners who are like, you know what, I want to see what so-and-so sounds like. And you can go through and be like, oh, wow, I really like the timbre of their voice. Let me go check out their books. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've done that too with
really...
listeners. I send them over. I'm like, just listen to the groups and stuff like that. I go, this is a good example. Because the clips are, you guys control the clips versus when you go to Audible and it's a dual or duet narration, but specifically more dual, and you only get one of the narrators on there. And that's not the one that you're looking for. So
right.
It's, then you're like, page 5, shit, there's still no samples of Kit.
I know. And if any authors are interested, they can go to the website. romancenarrators@gmail.com is the email for that. So you can always ask questions if you need them.
And they're also on social media. So it's a great, I think it's a great tool to have, especially when you're first starting out, to kind of figure out, do you want someone that has a deeper range or a deeper a baritone? Do you want someone that sounds more youthful and energetic? Because the character, it will start as a 10-year-old and now is aging as a young adult in the mid, earlier late 20s. But also the experience, you're going to get a good product.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So it's a good starting point. But I was also saying that they're also on social media, so follow along. They share stuff too there. So it's always a good tool to have, a good starting point as well. So
they'll always repost the stuff from the members. What's coming up, what's good, what are we thinking about these days?
And sometimes it was one of those things where the account of the member sometimes may not be able to find them online because of username issues or whatever, and then at least when they get retweeted, you're like, oh, that's the account, yay.
Exactly.
That's happened to me a few times. I'm like, well, just someone, I've tried it like 3 different times. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to other sites and then see where they've reposted something about them. I sworn I saw something a couple of days ago and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a wild ride these past couple of years with audiobooks, and I love that you guys are more involved with the community, from social media to now events in Allure, and get to have these fun chats and talk to you guys, but also get to know you better with how about a game of 2 truths and a lie?
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a good game. You're gonna tell us 3 things about yourself, and we got to figure out which one of those 3 is a lie.
Okay. Here are the 3 things. I had a private dinner with President Obama. I had a private lunch with Emma Thompson. And I had private drinks with the Mandalorian.
Dude.
2 of those are true.
Yes, which is fantastic. Right? Fantastic. But now coming up with the lie, it could even be that what is the lie? Could be that it's the right person, but the wrong type of food or drink, and you're going, oh.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. Is the lie the one with Emma?
No, that's true.
Oh wow. Okay.
I spent a week in her house in my early 20s. I was a co-founder of a Shakespeare company, and she was on our board of advisors, and I said I was coming to London, and I became pen pals with her, actually. And I said I was coming to London, and if she had any recommendations for shows to see. And she said, well, if you're coming to London, you should stay at my house. And I was like, okay, are you kidding? Because I'm totally going to take you up on this. And no, she sent me a map of her house, a hand-drawn map of her house, and her keys in the mail.
Oh my goodness.
And then at the end of the week, I had lunch with her. Nice. And she was just lovely. Just lovely. Like you would expect.
Good. I always fear sometimes meeting individuals that I look up to or admire and stuff like that, just in case, because sometimes, there's a reason why there's that
no.
saying, but it's great to know that she was lovely and great with you.
Oh, she's
So.
wonderful.
Yeah.
No, we were pen pals for like 4 years
Oh,
while I
wow.
was. No, I was more like 6 years while I was there.
Nice.
And then I got to see her again in New York. It was cool.
For those that don't know what a pen pal is, Google it.
Right, exactly. We actually like wrote letters. I still have all the letters.
Yes, and they got to go through the mail.
Right? I know.
Paper.
Oh, yeah, that was true.
Okay, yeah. So we have dinner with Obama or drinks with the Mandalorian are the two options that are left.
And I live in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, see? Yeah. You're tricky too. Is Obama one the lie then?
It is the lie.
Aha.
It is the lie. Yeah. No. As much as I would have liked to, I never got to meet President Obama. But Pedro Pascal is a dear friend of mine, and he is just the nicest guy. He and I did a show together at the Shakespeare Theater in DC.
Nice.
A long time ago when I was in my 20s. And he sat next to me. I mean, this was way before he was famous.
The Mandalorian.
Before it was the Mandalorian, yeah. And he sat next to me the first day of the read through, and he's like, "Can I sit here?" I'm like, "Yeah, come on over." And we had started joking with each other, and so we hung out that entire rehearsal process and performance. He was like one of my closest friends during that time period, and now I couldn't be happier for him. I'm just like seriously couldn't happen to a nicer person. Even though you watch him in Game of Thrones and he's like this evil bastard, and then you watch him in Narcos and in Wonder Woman 1984, which he's fabulous in, and The Mandalorian, and then I just watched The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage. It is so freaking funny. He's so good in that.
Nice.
So anyway, just know that Pedro Pascal is a gem of a person.
Yeah. When I had seen him, I think the first time was in Game of Thrones. And then funny enough, when The Mandalorian was announced, there was a clip and stuff like, oh my God, that voice is so good. I wonder if it sounds like that because of the helmet. I know there's a little bit of, but there's still something there. And when I did the research, I was like, oh, that's Pedro Pascal, perfecto, and everything. And I'm like, oh shit, he was born in Santiago, Chile. And I'm going, that'd be fun. I'm like, because my mom's from Chile, and so all my uncles and grandmother were Argentinians, and so that was a fun household. And they have a bit of a sing and song in their accents when they speak, and it's always fascinating how it's so nice and things, and it could be so melody as sorts, but when they get pissed off,
watch out.
Because that accent works both ways.
Oh my gosh. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I know that my Argentinian accent comes out when I get pissed off. So in Spanish. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Watch out. That's when you need the Alexa red light.
I know, right?
Love it.
Por favor, la luz roja.
See. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness. But you have stories and you have such great experiences. You lived a great life and you're still going.
Still going.
Okay.
I loved the theater. I was saying that, since I was 20, I changed jobs every 6 weeks and got to know so many people all over the country and all over the world. And I have great friends all over the place, and they couldn't be happier for me, and I couldn't be happier for them. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's been a delight getting to know you better. And all these little things too, that I'm like, oh, great. And, I was going to be like, oh, we have the coffee thing in common, but it's still not fair. You can't drink it.
I can't drink it. I know it's such a bummer, but I love that. I will smell your coffee. You can drink it.
Okay. Well, I will be that friend that will just pass you the cup first to smell it, take a hit.
Thank you. Right.
That's not over. You're good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fantastic.
Yeah. Before we go, tell us what you're currently working on and what's coming up next for you so we can add that to the list of stuff to listen to.
Yes. So I already told you about By Virtue I Fall with Sebio and Connor Kreis and Ava Lucas, and that's by Cora Riley. That should be out. That should be out any minute now, unless it's already out by the time we put this in. So yes, it should be already out by this time. Never Trust the Living by Lonnie Van Vale is the one after that, and that's with Tor Tom. And then the one I have right after that is The Path to You by Carrie Ann Ryan with Patrick Zeller, and that's the first time I'm working with him. So
he's awesome, by the way.
Yeah. He's such a sweet person. I actually I met him, one of the Audio Publishers Association socials, and then Carrie Ann Ryan requested him for that, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then we talked, and he's fabulous.
Yeah, I've had a pleasure of an opportunity to talk to him now twice here on the podcast. I think maybe 3 times.
Oh, cool.
On different things, and so gotten to know him, and he's such a nice guy, but so freaking talented.
Yeah. Total. He's an actor, like an actor too.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm always constantly like, why don't you have more books? Because he's so good.
Yeah, he is amazing.
So I'm always busting out with casting. I'm like, well, Patrick, especially if you're looking for an Irish accent, Patrick Zeller.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
If your listeners haven't heard me before, one of my favorite series that I've done is the Killer series by Bryn Asher. And that's with Jason Clark. So it's a 6-book series, and we're about to do the 6th book in September. Nice. So by the time that we get to Allure, we'll be finished.
Oh, cool. That'd be great. Oh, yeah. I'm sure they're going to be devouring it everywhere. We love series. Awesome. We love things like that we can continue and kind of get to know deeper depths into the world and stuff like that. So
yeah, and these are all like contract killers who are getting back into society, and there's like a single dad in there, and then like brooding guy who turns out to fall in love with the nutritionist. I mean, it's like really they're all great, and then of course everybody gets into mortal danger, and they have to be get themselves out of it. They're really good stories.
Yeah, the romantic suspense side of things is always, I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thank you again so much, Kit, for being here on the podcast and spending time with me. And again, for going to Allure. We're going to have so much fun when we get there.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah. I will be including all of her social media links on the podcast episode over at Viviana Enchantress of Books. So if you're not following her, you got to. And because she's fun. I love her posts. Yeah. And so until next time, everyone, happy listenings.
Thank you to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. Special thanks to Nixley Zenner, Carol Liebner, Brittany Robinette Leiter, Michelle Bastard,
Brandy Schmidt, April Branson.
The Audiobook Lovin Podcast has special Patreon access levels. Join today to receive benefits including early access to episodes, shout-outs, special exclusive content, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobooklovin. We thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.